Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's nice and dry up here now, or as dry as it's been in a while. It rained for a couple of days, pretty heavy, and washed away all the snow. So we're able to drive on dirt roads again. The river's kind of swollen. Coming in and out is pretty roached out, so we got hit there. But this is what we have now. You might remember this scene from a couple of weeks ago. It kind of looked like this. But like I said, it's all melted away now. So we're back on dirt roads. Well, kind of dirt roads. Most of the road is dirt. Some of it's mud. Other it's washed out. We've got this stream here. This is normally just a trickle. So it's flowing pretty good. Here's one of our mud bogs coming through here, which then transitions into a rut and a sand pit. This used to be a real nice smooth area, but now we've got about a 1 foot drop in the sand down into this rut, so we have to kind of straddle the rut at this point and make a quick 90-degree turn and cross it again. If you get off to the right into that rut, you're going to get hung up. And here's one of our crossings, one of our favorite crossings. It's not so bad now because we've knocked down both sides of the river, or both banks, so we can get up there. Our tires will climb it. And this is the worst spot here. This is Robert in his Dodge truck. Fortunately, it's four-wheel drive, or it wouldn't make it. But keep an eye on the rear wheels here. Yeah, that's kind of a drop on the front there. It's a big hole. Then you straddle the river for a little bit. Then the opposite side of the vehicle goes into another hole that you have to power through to get out of. And in the meantime, the river's washing rocks through there, so you never know what's going to be underneath there. Could be a big boulder and stop you and hang you up. So now it's my turn. I'm going to take a try at this. This is the river I got stuck in a few days ago. At the entrance point, I was over too far and got stuck in the big entry hole. Had to winch myself out, and in doing so I wound up falling into the river, butt first. So fortunately there's no video on that. But usually where there's a nice little stream, there's now a nice muddy river. Now along the banks of our river, we've been noticing this kind of stuff. These are gold flakes. It's not real gold, this is actually pyrite. But we took the incentive of digging some up just to make sure, and we processed it, and sure enough, under that pyrite, there's gold. Don't know how much of it yet. We grabbed a bucket, or a half a bucket, of this material. We then panned it out to get out some of the heavies and the organics, and now we're going to process it and see if there is any gold here. So we put some of our mud into this beaker. We're going to put in some hydrochloric acid and some nitric acid, mix up some aqua regia mud, and see if we got any gold. So after heating the material and mixing it and getting all the gold in it dissolved, we denoxed it and put a sample into each one of these spoons. Now this is the same source on each of these spoons, so it should be identical as far as the results. So now we'll put in our stannous chloride and see what we get. Sorry about the lighting, I wasn't running our generator at the time. But the solution started off just kind of clearing a little bit, and we give it a stir here. And we are getting a nice purple hue, so we should have some gold in here. Our next step was to harvest another batch of mud. We then ran that over the RP4 shaker table, separated out our fines and our heavies, and got the organics out. And we cooked that up in some aqua regia, and here's our solution. It's kind of a dark solution. We're running it through a vacuum flask filter right now to get out all the unwanted solids. Now we got to pour this stuff in kind of slow. We don't want to agitate the mud in the bottom of the beaker too much, because it will get into the filter and plug up the filter. Although a plugged up filter actually filters better than a not plugged up filter. You know, the material gets in there and plugs up the holes, and it's harder for any other smaller solids to get by. So it actually does a better job. It just takes a heck of a lot longer. And if you don't have a vacuum flask, this process could take hours. So I'm pulling about 25 inches of mercury on this flask. If you get too far above 25 or 30 inches of mercury, you'll actually put the acid into a vacuum boil. You'll start causing the acid to boil in the flask. Here's the filter. See, it's kind of plugged up now. So we'll save that in case we need to process it later and see if there's any more gold left in it. Now here we're going to do a second filtration, just for giggles, make sure that we get a clean solution. But you see, that solution is pretty darn clear, and you can see through it. It's dark though, which is a good indication that there should be some gold in it, or there's something in it. Got some dissolved PMGs. We haven't done much processing and verification if there's any platinum or palladium in there. So there could be other dissolved PMGs, but we're just looking for gold right now. So here's what we get. Kind of looks like horse whiz, but you know, gold is gold. I don't care what color it is.
Yes, Denox with some.
So here's our spoon samples again, and we're putting urea in just to knock out any of the excess nitric acid. If there's leftover nitric in your solution when you put the stannous chloride in, you could get a false result, either a false positive or a false negative. So make sure you denox. Best way to do it is to make sure you don't overnox in the first place, but in my situation I don't have a choice because I don't know how much gold I'm looking for. Wow, look at that. That turned dark real quick.
Baby.
Just 3 drops and it's almost black. So that's an indication of, you guessed it, a lot of gold.
Dark?
Or a lot of contamination, one of the two.
Sit there and mix it much. Holy fuck, dude.
So our next step is to denox the rest of the beaker full. So we're going to dump some urea in here, stir it in. And once we denox it, then we'll put we'll use sodium metabisulfite to precipitate the gold out of solution. All right, so here we go, putting in the sodium metabisulfite. And don't worry if your solution doesn't immediately turn black and start precipitating gobs of gold. Sometimes it takes a while. Especially in my case, it's cold up there right now, so it's you know, it takes a little bit longer for the reaction to take place. But you can see it's turning from that light yellow. It's darkening up. It's a good sign. I was getting tired of waiting too, so I put the solution onto my heater in my fume hood and added some more SMB. You can see how dark it's getting now. But one thing you need to remember is if you're working with a heated acid, reactions happen much more rapidly. And in this case, I put in some SMB and caused a boil over. But before it got out of the beaker, I was able to get the beaker out of the fume hood and put it in this spill tray. So now we're going to transfer the solution over to a larger beaker, and we'll wash out the spill tray and put the solution back into the beaker. That's one of the reasons you want to use a spill tray, is that if you do have an overflow or a spill, you contain the material and you have the possibility of processing it further. We don't want to lose any gold, so I'll just take the stuff that spilled into the pan, dump it back into our larger beaker, and continue on from there. So apparently I hadn't denoxed this solution far enough, so I'm using an excess amount of SMB just to get the reaction to hold. And here I did a stupid thing by pouring it in like that. Caused another overflow. But being as that it's in a spill tray, it was not a real major concern. Just kind of ticks me off that I did such an amateur mistake. Yeah, bastard. Good thing I wasn't mixing up nitroglycerin, or I'd probably be missing half my face and one of my arms. But anyhow, after cleaning up this mess, I put it back on the heat and let it run for a while. And then I got to let it sit overnight, let it precipitate out. And tune in tomorrow or on my next video, and you'll actually see me get the material, filter it out of the solution, get our gold out of solution, and melt it down into hopefully a big gold bar. It'll probably be a little dot, but I can hope for a big gold bar. Well, that's it for this time. Tune in on our next video and catch the big weigh-in. We're going to have gobs of gold. God, I hope so. Anyhow, see ya!